If I were to take a poll, this is not rhetorical, you can participate. What do you find yourself losing more often than anything else? What do you lose on a regular basis? People lose their phones. What else do they lose? They lose their keys. The undisputed champion of things that we lose are our keys. What else do people lose? They lose their, they do lose their AirPods. If you were here last week, you may have heard a story about one of my AirPods falling in a plain toilet to be flushed away into oblivion for all time. What else do we lose? We lose our patience, nice. We lose our minds. I probably say that once a week. I'm losing my mind over this, right? We lose stuff. You know what else people lose? Besides the remote, how many of you lose passwords? You can't find it. You don't remember. You do that forgot password ? Click, and it has to be emailed to you because you still don't write it down. And you forget, you lose it. It's on the little scrap piece of paper, and it gets thrown away. Oh, we know what it's like, do we not? To lose things, right? So much of the gospel story, right, is people going to the tomb, right, in this moment, the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday. You have people going to the tomb to prepare Jesus' body, and they don't know where he is. In other words, Jesus is lost. He's lost to us. Now, the gospel is that we are lost and Jesus finds us. But in the preliminary moments of the story, it looks like the body of Jesus is lost and he must be found. And so much of what we find ourselves doing, we have these moments of passion and fire and excitement where we are worshiping and celebrating the victory of Jesus on Easter Sunday. We put on the Easter Sunday best. We got the pastel colors in the Easter meal, and we celebrate the resurrection of Christ. We celebrate his victory. But Monday is coming. Monday will be here before you know it. And what oftentimes happens is the victory that we are so passionate about on Sunday, it can feel so elusive to us on Monday. And we wonder where it went. And the majority of our time and the pursuits of our life are spent many times trying to find the life that only God promises. We're searching for it. We're hunting for it. We're looking for it in perfect jobs and in making more money and a perfect relationship and perfect parenting and perfect children and perfect things. We look for the life that only God can give us, and all these other pursuits. We're searching. I do the same thing. But God has something for us today, on this Easter Sunday, that I believe is going to quell that hunger and that thirst. Relationship with him. Turn with me to Matthew 28. We're going to read just a little bit of the gospel story today. I know you're shocked by that. Couple verses here in Matthew 28. After the Sabbath, this is verse 1, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. First off, can we just hit pause for a second? An earthquake hits. An angel comes down. We watched the movie Risen last night, and if you haven't watched it, it's fantastic. okay? My kids wanted to watch World War Z. But we went for a real religious film called The Risen, and you see the size of the stone in front of the tomb. It's massive. It requires multiple people just to move it. And this angel comes down from heaven, and we don't even know what it looks like, but moves the stone in front of the tomb single-handedly, and then like a boss just sits on it, as in like, I got this. Okay? His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of them that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Don't be afraid, for I know that you're," what? "You're looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He's not here. He has risen just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he's risen from the dead and he's going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and they ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus meets them. Jesus met them. He says, "Greetings." They came to him and they clasp his feet and they worship him. And Jesus says to them, "Don't be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." You have Mary and Mary going to the tomb, and what are they doing? They're looking for Jesus. He's not there. But the scriptures say that they're trying to they're looking for him. They want to find him. And then the angel shows up and says, hey, don't be afraid. Impossible. But don't be afraid. I tell you what, if you go to Galilee, there you will see Jesus. Okay, go tell his disciples that. Oh, okay, good, great heads up. And then Jesus himself appears. So you have Mary and Mary going to the tomb. Jesus isn't there and they're wondering where he's at. Then an angel shows up and says, "Hey, don't worry. Jesus is going to show up in Galilee. If you want to see him, go there. Also, go tell his disciples that's where he's going to be." And then Jesus himself, round 3, shows up and says, "Hi." Hi? He says, "Hi. Greetings. Hi." That had a little country to it, or I don't even know what it had. Howdy, right? Greetings. He says, "Go, tell my disciples, they will see me in Galilee." Okay. So over and over again, we're being told that Jesus can be found where? In Galilee. Something that we may not really pay a whole lot of attention to in the text. When you read the Easter story, you may not have heard too many sermons about Jesus going and appearing in Galilee. But this is where we find ourselves in the Easter story. Jesus is nowhere to be found, although he just shows up and now he's gone again. And sometimes we miss what would have been going on in the hearts of these people. That's what's so great sometimes about a film, an adaptation of it, and I realize it's fiction. But when you've been walking with Jesus for several years, when he's healed you, when he's set you free, when you've witnessed this man do miracle after miracle after miracle, when you watched or heard about his death upon the cross, and it has grieved you to the depths of your heart and soul, and you're going to prepare his body, and his body's not there. The disciples are in hiding, terrified, grieving, all the things. You have Mary and Mary at the tomb, and an angel shows up, and then Jesus himself shows up. But Jesus only shows up, we see in the text, for like limited amounts of time. I don't even know how him appearing looked. Just, clap of the hands and woof, just vaporizes into existence and then vaporizes out. I don't know. But he's there for a second and then he's gone the next. But when he tells you that he can be seen and found and experienced in Galilee, guess what you're going to do? You're going to lace up your shoes. And you're going to get to Galilee as fast as your legs can get you there. Why? Because you will do anything for just a few more minutes with Jesus. Anything. 5 minutes, I'm there. 30 minutes, I'm there. Having a meal with you, I'm there. Worshiping you at your feet, anything it takes, I'm there. Galilee, you got it. I'll see you there. Now, when you can't find something, what do you do? What do you do? When you can't find that thing, what do you do? I think I heard somebody say it. You retrace your steps, do you not? That's what we do. We're like, oh, okay, when was the last time I saw that thing? Now, I don't need to call out anybody in my house who loves to blame people for a shirt that they cannot find. And the shirt person, the shirt monster, someone clearly came in to this home, took my shirt and hid it from me. Obviously, that can be the only answer and the only possible solution as to why I cannot find said shirt. It's someone is plotting against me. There's no way it could be wadded up in a ball on the floor of my bedroom where I last put it. That would be an impossibility. And so what do we as loving mothers and fathers do? When was the last time you saw it? I don't know. Someone clearly took it and hid it from me. Oh, really? Let's just talk about when did you last wear it? We're going to retrace these steps. You know what you probably did? So you probably took it off upstairs. You were tired, threw it, and it's on the side of your bed or someplace where I would imagine if we lift up the covers and look under the, what do you think? Let's retrace those steps. Or with me, when Amy hides things in the refrigerator and I don't know where they are and I have the fridge open and you're like, I know you hid this from me. You clearly intentionally took the ketchup and have placed it someplace where I cannot see it. And she's like, are you blind? And I'm like, no. See that deer outside 7 miles away? I can see that just fine. I can see it just fine, but the ketchup has been hidden from me.
It's right in front of you.
And it many times is. So what do? We retrace our steps. Maybe not with the ketchup, but we retrace our steps. What Jesus is doing here, I took a little long time for us to kind of laugh about this moment. When Jesus is telling his disciples to go to Galilee, you know what he's actually doing? He's taking them all the way back to where this entire relationship with him began. He's starting at the beginning. And if you are searching for Jesus, if you are searching for life today, if you're searching for his victory, I have actually great news for you. Go back to where it all started for you. You see, there is a tendency for us still, even now, to assume that Jesus would be in the places like Jerusalem, the places of power and strength. That's where you would expect the risen king to be. He's just defeated sin and death. This man is both Lord and Savior. He's victorious. Surely he's going to be in the place of power, Jerusalem. Or maybe not the city itself, maybe the temple, the religious epicenter. This would be where our king is, surely. And instead, God says, go. You'll find me in Galilee. That's the equivalent, in case you're from here, this is no slight to it. But imagine Jesus shows up in our school, risen from the tomb. And he's like, here's what we're going to do. You can find me in Rockmart. You'll find me in Rockmart. You'll find me in Ringgold. Galilee is a nothing place. It's also why it's so significant that the ministry of Jesus, the Son of God, He doesn't choose glitz and glamour. He starts everything with His disciples in Galilee. This is where they're fishing. This is where they learn to walk with Him. This is where the miracles begin to happen. This is where the teaching begins. It's in a place that nobody even really cares about. It's Galilee. And now here we are at the end of Jesus' life, so to speak. He's risen from the grave, and He says, find me in Galilee. In other words, let's go back to where this whole thing started. I'll see you there. What was it like for you? I realize we got a lot of different people in this room today. But what was it like for you to have a relationship with God for the first time? How did it start for you? What was your Galilee? Where did it begin? Some of you might be sitting here and you're like, it hasn't really started. And for you, I want you to take that spiritual seatbelt, buckle in, and hang on for a few more minutes, because I've got something for you in this moment as well. But for some of you, it's Easter, like you're coming because there's something inside of you that is compelling you to worship God on Easter Sunday. You're here. Where did that begin for you? How did that start? How did a relationship with God come into an inkling of its beginning? What was your Galilee moment? For some of you, many of you, in fact, this is dangerous. Raise your hand if you grew up being brought to church by mom or dad or by grandma and grandpa. Raise your hand. Everybody, keep it up for a second. Look around this room. That is the vast majority of this room. Hands down. I'm not saying that experience was all good. I'm not saying it was perfect, or even, some of it might have even had some lasting effects where you're like, whoo, I got to shake that. That was hard on me. But for so many of you, that beginning moment of something coming alive in you, it began with something so simple, so overlooked, so dismissed. It is the Galilee of all Galilees, isn't it? And it's simply getting in the car with mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, and going and experiencing this together. Church. A church family. You went and those songs got in you a little bit. Some of you know some of those hymns, and they come out when you least expect it. I was singing one on the way to church today, and I was like, I haven't heard that in so long, and yet it just started coming out. How? I was going to church with mom and dad for years. Some of you, those songs, the messages, you can't even remember a singular message, but the word being preached, it just gets inside of you, and something begins to happen. It's so simple, isn't it? It's so overlooked, isn't it? It's so dismissed. It is the Galilee of all Galilees. For some of you, it wasn't going to church, though, with family. Maybe it was being a part of something like a small group, right? Where you're in somebody's home and you're asking real questions. And you're talking about faith, and you're maybe enjoying getting to know somebody who is themselves a follower of Christ. And you're eating food, and you're having relationship, and you're opening the Bible together, and people are praying for one another. And it's so simple. There's no lights. There's no fog machine. There's no this glitz and glitz. It's just people who love Jesus eating food together. Opening the Bible for a few minutes, praying for one another, and over time, it just begins to do something inside of you. That's where it all began. For some of you, it was the Bible itself. You opened that thing, you heard about it, and you opened it, and you really began to read it. And the Word came alive for you. It's like maybe you'd even read it 100 times before, but now it's like you were reading it for the first time. And it begins to come. It's so simple. It just comes, you're reading it, and it's like Jesus Himself is showing up in your living room speaking to you. You can't describe it. It's not that He's actually physically there, but you can't explain what's happening as you read the Scriptures or begin to sing the songs. For me, at 13, beginning to get involved in my church youth group, that's where things started coming alive for me. I was with other teens who loved Jesus, and specifically with some other teens older than me, and I saw them loving Jesus and following Him and just doing their best, and that inspired me. It did something to be around other people, right? That were older than me, following God, and it rubbed off on me. I wanted to do what they were doing. I was excited about it. I couldn't explain it. But you couldn't keep me away from the youth group at my church. And then in college, something similar happened all over again. I can't get into all the details of it, but some of you have heard this story before, but a college service just for college students. And the song is jamming, right? And I didn't grow up with jamming music at church. The opposite could not have been more true. And so I'm at a service and the beat is on. And a young guy, who's one of my dearest friends still to this day, invites and encourages everybody to begin lifting their hands. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Certainly not in worship. And we get to this song called Trading My Sorrows. And I'd never heard a song like this. I'm trading my sorrow, whatever. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes. And people start fist pumping. They're like, yes, Lord. Hundreds of students. And I'm like, what's going on in here? What's wrong with these people? They're so passionate. They're so alive. And yet, nothing really crazy is happening. It's so simple. They're just singing. The worship leader, the worship pastor, the worship college student says, everybody just lift their hands, right? I'm trading my sorrows. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. And I was like, fine. Right? And bam, it just keeps, I'm feeling it. And when I tell you, something broke. The tears just started pouring down. And I can't, even to this day, I can hardly get through the story. I can hardly explain to you what happened inside my heart in that moment, but it was so simple. it was so easily overlooked and so quickly dismissed. It's the Galilee. It's the basic things. It's the simple things. It's those ordinary rhythms where you first met Jesus. It's getting in the car and just going to the church service. It's listening to the sermon. It's the small group. It's the opening of the Bible. It's the praying. It's the community with other people. This is how you learn to walk with Jesus. I loved it in the movie Risen last night. You know, they get to Galilee in this moment. And there's another guy, it's obviously fictitious. He's like, why are we here? Why are we in Galilee? And Peter looks at him and he says, this is where we learned to fish. This is where it all started. And then he says, sometimes he's hard to recognize. I love that line. Sometimes he's hard to recognize, but this is where it all started. You looking for Jesus today? Are you looking for the life of Jesus? Go back to where it began. Oh, we celebrate what Jesus did in the tomb, but it's moments after he rises from the grave. Where does he go? Galilee. And he invites us to find him there. The place where it all started. In Revelation chapter 2, right, we get to the end. The last book of the Bible is Revelation. It's a tough read, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're like, I've never read the Bible before, I'm going to start there. Maybe don't do that, okay? It's tough to start in Revelation. But there's a moment, right, where there are angels, right, and they're coming to the churches, and some of this is metaphorical. Some of it is literal. Some of it is symbolic. But the Spirit of the Lord Jesus is bringing, right, correction to some of these churches. Church in Laodicea, church over here, church over there, right? And so we see in this moment a little adjustment from Jesus. And he says, I have this against you. That's tough. You've left the love you had in the beginning. So remember where you were before you fell. Change your hearts and do what you did at first. In other words, what happened when you first started following Jesus? When this thing started becoming real to you and it became alive for you, get back to that. What were those things? I have great news for you. They're probably very simple. It's the things that you did at the very beginning. I love baseball. I love most sports, to be honest with you. Love football, love baseball. I love hockey. And some of you are like, oh my gosh, he's a true sports fan, right? I love a little hockey, but baseball season's just recently started. And if you've ever read about sports psychology, there comes a moment and a time in nearly every professional athlete's life where they lose their hunger and passion for the game. Either they're a professional player and they lose that. They might even be in high school and begin to lose it. It diminishes, it wanes. Same thing in college, right? You have moments and seasons. And so some players who are just that good are ready to lay the whole thing down, right? Because they've just lost passion. It's not that they've lost ability. It's not even that they're injured. They just don't have a heart for it anymore. But if you read about sports psychology and what it looks like to begin reigniting your love for the game. Well, what do? What are you supposed to do? Great news. You begin by getting back to the basics, the simple things. You begin to remove, in fact, all the lists, if you read all the blogs and all the sports psychologist articles, one of the things that we see on a regular basis is to remove pressure, to remove all of these heavy set goals and outcomes that you have to have and that you put on yourself in order for this to be successful. And what does that sound like? It reminds me so much of the Pharisees and the law. And what is it that Jesus says to them? He says, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." To remove this pressure. And so in the game of baseball, what is it that you need to do? My family several years ago won this auction to go to St. Louis and go down on the field, meet some players, watch them warm up. They put us up in a hotel. It was a really cool experience. And you have a little guide that walks you out onto the field, and they're there, and they've got the little roped area. And this person that was leading us out was young, super young, and they're on their phone. They bring us out. I've never been on the field with the players before. Now, Graham was with me. David and Sharon, Amy's parents are with me. And we're out on the field. And even in that moment, I was struck by how much the person who was facilitating this and leading us out, they'd forgotten how magical this moment was for everybody else that was going out onto this field. You're standing in a baseball stadium with some of your favorite players a few feet from you, right? You're watching balls get thrown in practice, right? Where they're throwing it, they're gunning it, and these guys are taking practice swings and hitting it to the moon, right? And you're down on the field, right? And you watch the ball come off the bat. Your feet are touching that dirt, right? The chalk, the feel of the grass, the sound of the ball hitting the mitt, right? The grass crunching under your feet. These are the things, right? When you take the pressure off of the game, that you remember, this is why I loved it. The roar of the crowd, the eating of the hot dog, right? And the baseball, just the experience. Now, some of you, you're like, I don't care about that. It's something else for you. That's fine. But it's amazing, even in sports psychology, to get somebody back to the passion and love of the game. It's the most simple things that you begin to get reminded of why you loved it in the first place. And when Galilee becomes the place to meet Jesus, what Jesus is doing is he is taking these disciples whose tendency always is to get it wrong, ours too, right? And to think that we will experience the life of Jesus here in that perfect life. I'll find it here in that perfect job. I'm going to find it in Jerusalem. I'm going to find it in the temple. I'm going to find it in all these perfectly constructed scenarios for my life. And what Jesus is saying in this moment, meet me in Galilee where it all began, where it all started. We're going to wrap this thing up, and I'm going to commission you in the same way that this whole thing began. Simple obedience, often overlooked, being part of a band of disciples, a church, reading the scriptures, meditating on what you know is right and true, praying. So simple. But taking time to seek Him. The next step that you've been avoiding, some of you have been here in this church, and you've avoided the next step of growth and maturity. It's simple, but it takes a little bit of courage. Meet me where you first found me. So where is the place for you, church? If you're asking yourself this question, where's the place that you first encountered Jesus, where life began to happen, but you have slowly walked away from? What is it? Is it something as simple as church life? Maybe you come, you're the once or twice, Creaster, Christmas and Easter. Okay, I'm thrilled that you're here. But now, what I'm inviting you to do is to take a step further in. And let this thing become, right, a real rhythm for your life where you first encountered Christ. For some of you, it's learning to literally something as simple as reading the Scriptures and praying. In other words, you are invited to experience today the resurrection power of Jesus in the most wonderfully ordinary places of your life. The Galilees. For some of you, this is not about returning. It's not about going back. This is about starting for the first time. You've been searching. You've been looking for peace and purpose. And you've been looking in every place but the one place that you'll find it. And that's Jesus.